Hi traders, hope you're doing well. Welcome to my video on the free Divergence EA, which I have developed for the MT4 and MT5 trading platforms. Please help yourself to a copy using the link in the description below. In this video, I'm going to run through the EA, the settings, and the various ways in which you can implement it within your trading strategy. So, as I said, this is a Divergence EA. It's based on divergence of four prominent indicators: the RSI, MACD, CCI, and Stochastic indicators, all available in the MT4 and MT5 trading platforms. I'm not going to go too much into what divergence is in this video. I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you already know what it is, but I do have other videos and articles available which explain it. But in a nutshell, we're looking for scenarios such as this one when the indicators are showing divergence. So this is a higher low, suggesting that the market is going to start to move upwards, okay? Or a lower high. If we look here on the CCI, you can see these lower highs suggesting that the market will move downwards. Okay, so the EA basically incorporates that ideas with these individual indicators, and you can choose them to use them together, to use them separately. It's just a very, very handy tool, whether that's for semi-automated or fully automated signals. Yeah, so this is the MT4 strategy tester here, where I've got the Divergence EA loaded up already. You can back test it. It can work on any trading instruments. So I've got the euro dollar selected here. You can use it on Forex stocks, indices, cryptos, commodities, etc. Okay, for the model, you can use open prices only testing, which is a lot faster. That's because the EA is based on open prices for entry and exits. However, you will want to switch to every tick testing when fine tuning, because every tick will do intra-bar prices, which is important when it comes to things like stop loss, take profit, break even, trailing stop, so on. Okay, just keep in mind this is the MT4 version that I'm running through here. The MT5 version is more or less the same, but the strategy tests are slightly different. For example, in MT4, you cannot test with real spreads, slippage, commissions. However, in MT5, you can. You can in MT4 with third-party software. If you implement it, it will allow you to use variable spreads, include slippage and commissions, to improve the modeling quality from the maximum 90% that MT4 has by default. You can get 99% modeling quality, but regardless, whatever platform you're using, backtesting, of course, is based on historical data, so there's no guarantee of what will happen moving forward. It can just give you a rough idea of how a particular trading system may have traded historically speaking. Okay, that being said, you can select the dates that you want to test over. So I've got previous year selected here. The time frame, so I've selected the 1 hour charts. You can use it on any chart time frame. I personally prefer higher chart time frames because they contain more price data, and therefore I find signals tend to be more reliable. That applies to not just divergence, but things such as trend lines, support, resistance, candlestick formations. Okay, and it also means less time trading. Okay, and less in broker fees. Spread, so this is the spread that will be used when you are testing with the EA. I use current market spread unless, of course, it's a weekend you want to adjust it to something more realistic, because the current market spread will be a lot wider than usual. So expert properties, now I'm just going to run through some of the various settings in the EA that you can customize according to your own trading strategy. So the expert name, you can change to anything you like. This is what will appear in your account statement. Pop-up alerts, if you set this to true, you receive an alert when there's a signal. For example, buy trade euro dollar 1 hour chart time frame. This is handy because you can run multiple charts watching different instruments and different time frames and get signals without having to scour the charts for divergence manually. Email alerts is the same. However, the signal is sent via email, and this is handy if you're away from your computer. Perhaps you're out and about on the sofa, just lazing around, and you want to be notified when there's a potential setup. Whether that's a signal for an entry or a divergence signal for an exit of a trade you may already be in. SMS alerts is the same, just it will send you the alert via SMS. Use trading, if you have use trading set to true, the EA can actually place and manage to trade on your behalf. Just go careful with this and bear in mind it's all done based on the settings and money management that you select from the EA, which of course you're responsible for yourself. You can have use trading set to true and email alerts set to true, or any of the other alerts set to true. This is so you can be notified when there is a trade being placed, and then you can perhaps fire up the platform as soon as you get a chance and check just to make sure it was a valid trade. And if you want to perhaps adjust the stop loss or take profit on the trade. Okay, so days filter is self-explanatory. Oh, I also have trade short and trade long. You can set them to true or false. You can do that from the testing tab as well. However, this is good for optimization if you want to optimize those. Days filter, as I said, self-explanatory, the days of the week you want to trade. Hours filter, again, self-explanatory. Perhaps you want to trade specific trading sessions, the London, New York, Tokyo, Sydney. You can just choose your trading hours there. So the magic number, this is the order ID that is sent for buy and sell trades, set to 1 and 2 by default. This is just so that you don't clash with any other EAs that you may be running on your account. Broker settings, so maximum spread, maximum slippage, these are values in pips. If the maximum spread or slippage is greater than these values in pips, then the EA will not take a trade. This is to avoid unfavorable broker conditions. Money management, so the open orders limit, this is the maximum amount of buy and or sell trades that can be open at any one time, set to 1 by default. It's just to avoid having too many duplicate trades. Lots, this is the position size if you have used trading set to true that the EA will place. Keep in mind, if you have used risk here set to false, the EA will use the lots value set here in the lots field. If you have used risk set to true, the EA will calculate the lot size based on the risk percent that you set here in the risk percent field. Stop loss and take profit, self-explanatory. These are fixed levels. I'm not too keen on fixed levels simply because I think it really depends on the market conditions. However, it's just good to get something initially. If you're not around and you want to trade place with a hard stop and take profit, you can. But if I just close that a minute, let's just take this scenario for example here. You see this downwards move. Let's just say we had taken a trade based on that trend line break there. You see this end formation breakout to the downside, market making these lower highs. May have perhaps waited for a pullback. You've got this level of support here. Okay, you can see it holds up well, support, then a breakout, and then support becomes resistance. This could have been a trade here into the downtrend. We also have divergence here on the RSI. Okay, MACD is falling below the signal lines, heading in a downwards direction, while divergence on the CCI. And furthermore, the stochastics not only crossed to the downside, but is also showing divergence as well. So all the signs were there for a bearish signal. In this instance, if we had a 50 pip fixed stop loss, that would have been around here somewhere, which is not too bad. But really, if we made the effort to check ourselves, we could have put it above the recent high, which is 25 pips. And that's like half the stop loss value, which is why I feel EAs are quite rigid by nature. And I tend to prefer to use them in a semi-automated manner. Same with the take profit. In this instance, 100 pip take profit would have been, well, it wouldn't have been hit. So, you know, if you weren't watching this trade and just hoping you could have had a trade that was 70 plus pips in profit, come all the way back up here. Okay, whereas if you were around, you may not have had a time to take profit, but what you could have done is move the stop loss to break even as price started to fall, so around here, and then as price continued to fall, you could have put it above the recent highs. When price turned around, you still would have banked tidy profit. And as you saw, if you weren't using the trailing stop, but you saw this level of resistance form here, and the market start to make these higher lows, you may have just exited manually in any case. Okay, so again, just emphasizing the rigidity of some expert advisors, but this is just good if you're not around and you want to get some fixed levels in. Okay, close opposite signal, true or false. It does what it says on the tin. If there's an opposite signal, it will close the trade. Okay. Break even. So if you have break even set to true, the EA will move the stop loss to break even point at this value in pips once it's reached. Okay, so if you set it to 100, when there's 100 pips profit, it will move the stop loss to break even. Trailing stop. Every time the trailing gap is reached, the EA will move the stop loss that distance. This is good if you want to try and trail the price, but again, doesn't beat looking at the chart and using swing highs and swing lows, in my humble opinion. But it's better than nothing. Just don't be lazy and try to take the easy approach, put some effort into it and learn about money management, risk reward. Okay, close percent, so you can close a percentage of the trade every time the trailing gap distance is reached. Minimum lot close, once you only have this amount of position size remaining, the EA will stop closing part of the position. So for example, if you had one standard lot here, you were closing 25%, 25% each time the 25 trailing gap was reached, and you had minimum lot close 0.5. When you only have 0.5 lots remaining, the EA will let the rest run. This is good because you can sort of bank profits and then just try and catch a bigger move with the remaining amount on the position. So now we're going to get to the nitty gritty of the strategy. So the reason why it would take trades and exit them if you have close and opposite signal set to true. So you've got the bars look back. This is how far you want to check back for divergence. Entry type, so you can trade reversals or breakouts of divergence. Okay, so you've got the elements here, the CCI, MACD, RSI, and stochastics. You can set them to true or false, depending on which ones you'd like to trade. You can trade them all if you wish. You can choose the periods, okay, the various different settings for each of the indicators. Depending on you can use the defaults, or if you want to, you're scalping and you want something more active, swing trading, day trading, you can just adjust accordingly. So that's all the various settings that can be customized according to your own trading strategy. I'm gonna show you how to do an optimization. Now, an optimization basically is when you do a combination of different settings to see what results they may have produced. Of course, as I said, there are limitations to backtesting, but I can give you a rough idea of a trading strategy. So you just check the settings that you want to test. So if we just go stop loss, we'll start at 25, but we'll start at 0 for that because we can always have the close on opposite signal option. We'll go 25 and we'll stop at 50. Basically, this will test, it will start a stop loss at 60, at 0, sorry, and step at 25 and stop at 50. So your stop loss will be tested 0, 25, and 50. Take profit, if we start that at 0, step at 100 and stop at 300. This will test the take profit of 0, 100, 200, 300. Again, because we're starting at that value, we're stepping up at 100 and stopping at that. So do every possible combination. Close an opposite signal, true or false. If there's an opposite signal, the EA can close the trade. We'll optimize that. Break even, true or false, we'll optimize that. Trailing stop, we'll optimize that. For the break even point, I think we'll start at 25, we'll go up to 25 and we'll stop at 50 because we're going to test on the 1 hour chart time frame. Of course, if you're trading lower chart time frames, you might want to make starts for something lower, just as if you're trading higher chart time frames, you might want to start at higher values. Trailing gap will again 25, 25 and stop at 50. Keep in mind, the more settings that you choose to optimize, the longer it will take. Speed will depend on how many settings you've checked and of course your computer power. Close percent will start at 0, go up 25, stop at 75. Minimum block to close, I think we'll start at 0.25, we'll go up 0.25 and we'll stop at 1.25. Obviously, if we're trading one standard lot, which we are here, okay, if the minimum lot close is 1.25, nothing will be closed because we're only trading one lot anyway. Divergence mode, so for the bars look back, let's go for, I think we'll stop 50, 50, and we'll go, should we go, yeah, leave it at 200, why not? Entry type, so breakout reversal, we'll select that to optimize either reversal or breakouts. We'll have CCI true or false, CCI period will do 7, 14, and 21. Okay, MACD entry true or false, I think we'll leave the MACD, shall we? Yeah, should we leave it as it is? Okay, we can leave that as it is. RSI entry true or false, RSI period 7, 14, 21, stochastic true or false. Okay, actually I do think maybe we will do 6, 12, but 18, 24, maybe not just so much. Okay. 26, 29. I think we'll go 52 on that. Okay, make sure you select there. And we'll leave that 27. So we're optimizing quite a lot of settings here. So we're going to probably end up with over optimization, but I'll explain that to you shortly. Okay, so these are all the settings we're going to optimize. If you go to this optimization tab, if you want to filter results by any of these, you can. So for example, if you want maximal drawdown, you can just enter, okay, I only want results with a maximal drawdown of 20. I'll leave these unchecked just because I want to see all results, good and bad. Give me an idea of an expert advisor and what's good, what's not. Under the testing tab, so the initial deposit you want to test with, as I said, trading direction. The parameters you want to optimize for, I always optimize for balance. You have other options there, profit factor, drawdown, depending on your needs. This genetic algorithm, okay, so if you've got this unchecked, the strategy test will do every possible combination of what we selected here, which, as you could imagine, will take a long time, especially if you've selected loads of settings. However, if you check genetic algorithm, the strategy test will throw away combinations of settings it deems will not produce good results, which speeds things up greatly. And I think it does a good job of doing it, so I always leave that checked. Click OK. Once you've selected your symbol, your dates, time frame, and click the optimization tab, hit start, and now what will happen is the strategy tester will do all the various different combinations and produce the results here. So as you can see, you've got all the different combinations that we selected to be tested and the results they produced. You can sort them by profit, trades, profit factor, expected payoff, and drawdown in monetary or percentage value. Okay, well that was pretty quick. You can sort this by profit, scroll to the top and see what we've got. Okay, so we've got plenty of settings that produced decent results. If you double click them, what that will do is it will load the settings, those particular settings in the inputs here, okay? And you can click save if you want to save them, perhaps Divergence EA, Euro-dollar 1 hour, you know, and then you can just load them at a different date for further testing or on your charts. Click OK, click start, and now this, with optimization unchecked, it will run an individual test. Okay, you can see it's a decent graph. However, what we've done there, well, there's other, you'll see, double click, run, there's lots of decent results in there, okay? But what we've done there is over optimize, okay? You can see we've got lots of good set files to choose from. This one's got a lot more trades. What does that look like? Decent again. What we've done there is over optimize, which is basically find good settings for the particular data set that we're using, okay? And there are some developers who will just throw together loads of settings, find what looks good over a back test, and sell that as a complete best EA ever. However, that's known as curve fitting, which is basically you'll always be able to find good, most of the time, good settings for a particular instrument and historical data range. So if we just run these settings, this is the past year of these optimized settings, right? Let's see what happens if we add we'll add 3 years and run the same settings, see what happens. That's what happens, okay? Because we can more or less pinpoint where we started optimizing from, probably around here somewhere, and almost to the day it was here, because we optimized for this period, okay? You can see before, not good at all, because we over optimized. If you throw enough settings together, you'll eventually get something that looks good. Well, some may argue, why don't you just optimize again? And you can, but whether you go back 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10, 15, 20 years, is still over optimizing. You can, you can find the best settings for the last 20 years. It doesn't mean they're going to be good moving forward. It can maybe give you a rough idea of what to expect, but it's all based on historical data. And for me, sometimes you'll stumble across a good combinations of settings that have some logic behind them, but you just need to spend the effort to actually check the settings and understand them. Like, why does it make sense? Why were these trades taken? And as I said, nothing can beat being semi-automated. If you take the effort to just look for certain things in the market, like here, for example, you can see these lower highs, okay? You can see this chart is a bit squashed because I've got so many indicators here, but hopefully you'll be able to see what I mean. You've got this level of support here, okay? fact, this was even back here, it was resistance, resistance becomes support. Got a nice M formation here, lower highs. Okay, lots of bearish candlestick patterns. You've got a 3 inside down pattern there. And this breakout here, this would have been a good trade just based on price action trading alone. You could have taken this. But how could the EA have been incorporated? Well, you know, you could have been alerted to bearish divergence here on the RSI. Could have made you look for a sell opportunity there. Same with the MACD. CCI as well. Here you have the divergence to the downside, you know, making you aware of this situation here, as well as the stochastic oscillator. Okay, so if you take the time to just make maybe some manual effort, you know, get the alerts, let the EA alert you, and then perhaps come back in and check, okay, yeah, this is the situation, what's happening. I'm going to make some effort. I'm going to take this breakout. I'm not going to just use a fixed stop loss. I'm going to put the stop loss above a recent high. Yeah, this is a good trade for over 300 pips here. Okay, you could have trailed on the swing highs on the way down. Okay, if you did miss the initial entry, there was like a pullback here. This level of support, resistance. Okay, and again, you could have been having your divergence alerts for potential trading opportunities. Okay, let's just pop a line in there, and you can see that tied in nicely as well. So yeah, lots of ways you can use the CA. Let's go back to this optimization that we just ran. Results, sort by profit. Okay, so we found some decent results. Double click that. Okay, not a bad graph at all. But what do we do? Over optimize. Okay, so you see that graph there. Looks like a great EA. Everyone, I think, would be happy with that. However, let me just check the other results. Okay, plenty of good results to choose from. What happens if we go back 1 to another 3 years and run the same settings? That's what happens. And we know where we started optimization, probably around here. Not far off. Okay, and that's again because we optimize just for a certain time period. Just trying to emphasize the fact that if you make some effort to semi-automate and just use this free A as a tool to assist you in terms of it can watch as many charts as you want and spot divergence. So that saves you a task. It can alert you when you're away from your computer. It can help you with open positions. It's got money management and various other features. And if you want to use it completely fully automated, you can do that as well. Just obviously be wary, as with any EA. Okay, as I said, it's free to use on the MT4 and MT5 trading platforms. Help yourself using the link in the description below. Hopefully you found something useful in this video. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care.